Welcome to Days of Roar, a Detroit Tiger podcast brought to you by the Detroit Free Press. My name is Mark Gorash. I am here this week with guest host Bobby Scales Jr. from the Detroit Tigers Baseball Network because Free Press beat writer Evan Petzold has become a daddy, which we will talk about in a moment. And he's taken some family time, so we're giving him the week off. It was a great week for Tiger baseball this week. 6 games, 5-1 record. Bobby Scales had a lot of fun.
Sure did.
We're going to talk about opening day in a minute, but let's get into it. 5-1, started the week in Seattle, Bobby. Had to face 3 really tough pitchers, ground out 2 wins, and they've been doing it with, a lot of chaos. We got the Days of Roar chaos lineup going this week, just like the Detroit Tigers chaos lineup. Let's touch for a second on Seattle. Tough place to play. Ball doesn't carry. Tough pitching. Ground out 2, almost got 3.
No, look, it's an excellent week. I mean, like you said, we'll start with Seattle. Emerson Hancock with the first day out there. He's clearly not Logan Gilbert or Luis Castillo, but nonetheless, he had some good stuff, and the Tigers got on him and chased him early. Yeah, it was, the thing that got me, and I was hoping that this would happen the way it did, because coming out of that Dodger series, like, you get swept. We were in every game, except for the one that at the end got away from us a little bit, but good at bats, man. Like, firing on pitches you're supposed to fire on, and taking the ones you're not supposed to, or even taking pitches early in counts that, okay, that's edge pitch, that's a black pitch. I can't do anything with that. We're going to leave that one alone and live to fight another day. The quality of the at-bats were so good. And I know people like, quality at-bats. What's a quality at-bat? Well, it depends, right? It depends. There's context behind every single pitch, behind every single at-bat you're going to get. But when you go into that series and then having, coming off the 3 losses, and you have the swings that you had off of Hancock, Gilbert, and Castillo, and you end up with 2 wins, and really in the third game, sans a couple of misplays behind them, or one misplay in particular behind them by Colt, but it was really, really impressive to see these guys end up hitting balls as hard as they did and scoring as many runs as they did.
It's exciting to see the caliber of at-bats. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
The way they started the week against Hancock from hitter 1, drawing so many walks, making him throw so many pitches until he just basically exhausted himself.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
And they finished the week exactly like they began the week, as they draw 3 walks in the bottom of the 9th inning and get a big swing from Tor. So how they started the week is how they finished the week.
You get that because you just stack at bat after at bat, inning after inning, game after game. It just becomes part of who you are. So, I mean, it was awesome. It was really awesome to watch that and be a part of it.
I think when you ask about the last 50 games or 60 games of 2024 and how they've opened the year, and even in the Dodger series, Scott Harris has always used the mantra, we're going to dominate the strike zone. And they've done a great job from a pitching standpoint doing that. But based on how they finished the year and how they've now begun the year, it is now translated into the type of offense they play. They walked 7 times today, and they're really, really making pitchers work. They're running pitch counts up to the moon, although they did not do that against the ageless Martin Perez today. I've been in the cage against batting machines that threw harder than he was throwing today. And it was pretty amazing to me. I think at one point he was at 70 pitches. He'd thrown 2 pitches above 88 miles an hour. And he was dominating them in many ways. Maybe the most unique pitcher in the major leagues right now. I can't think of anyone else that throws like he does or is able to throw as many pitches in an outing as he does. Yet they just kept hanging in there, keeping the game close enough until they did not use up their 27 outs and finished the game with a 3-1 rally in the bottom of the 9th. So a lot of fun this week, really pretty much carrying over exactly what they've played since last August. So I wanted to talk to you about this. Opening day. Was this your first opening day in Detroit?
No, I was actually, I had the one last year too. And that's something that I wanted to do. 23, I was only on the road, and I actually had the opening day in Tampa, started on the road that year too. But first opening day in Detroit was last year. I had my son and my dad up for that one. And then we did it again, ran it back this year, and it was cool. So it's amazing. I mean, they've kind of made a statewide holiday out of this whole thing. And, you see the people, you see the tailgaters out there. I mean, I walked over to the ballpark. I think I got there about 9:30 and they were already several deep. So it's a festive atmosphere. The ballpark was full. The weather was fine. It was cool. It wasn't cold. Today was cold. So the Sunday game was cold. Friday was cool. It was perfect. It was a good weather, plenty good enough weather to play. And the sun poked through for a little bit too. So it was good. Everything was fantastic. And then obviously to get the win against the White Sox in the home opener is always good.
Yeah, they drilled the White Sox yesterday. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty unique thing to do. I don't know how many other cities get into opening day quite like Detroit does. It is literally almost a national holiday. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I participated in it for decades. I now have the Gorosh rule, which is I'm not showing up at the park until it's 65 degrees. Although I will go, and I have to sit behind the plate. So those are my two rules. And however, I will expand the rule when we have games in October. I will show up for that. So,
there you go. That's a different deal.
But I hope everybody had a great time, and I look at it as me being generous in the sense that I'm not taking up a seat that somebody else wants. So
exactly,
it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. I want to let everybody know our podcast partner, Evan Petzold and Savannah Petzold, are now proud parents. On April 3rd, Jackson J. Petzold, a young baby boy, was born, 4 pounds, 15 ounces. They're spending family time. That's all I have to say about this, except I am so happy for them. And Bobby, I know you feel the same way about it. We've both seen pictures, but we're going to leave discussing Jackson J. Petzold to Evan Petzold, which he will do next week. And he gets the full 45 minutes to talk about him for as long as he wants.
That's awesome.
That's two dads understanding the first one and how great and how unforgettable that day is.
Yep.
So, all right, let's get into the big two. Question one of the big two. How important was it to immediately capture the style and culture of 2024? Grind, next man up. Talk to me a little bit about how unique it is that 9 games in, it's like the season never ended.
Well, here's the thing. And the question is a fair one. I do think that at this point, it's less capturing, and I'm being a little bit pedantic, so it is kind of what it is, but it's less capturing, quote unquote, the spirit of 24 and more continuing on the culture that has been built. And I know we're saying the same things, but I think it's important to distinguish the two, because if you continue to live in what happened at 24, you're not going to move forward. But if you look at 24 as a continuation of the culture that was trying to be built, that when AJ and then Scott got here, and how you're trying to go about not just winning baseball games, okay? Building an organization. We are going to pound the strike zone. We will throw strike one. We are going to get to leverage counts. We are going to catch the baseball behind our pitchers. We are going to run the bases hard. When we get pitches to hit into zone, regardless of pitch type or where we are in the count, we are going to pound them. And we are going to grind at bats and not give up bats up ever until the 27th out is recorded. And if that's the culture, that's the culture. That's the way that AJ wanted to play when he got here. That's the way that Scott wanted to build the team when he got here. It filters all the way through the minor leagues. So I think it's more continuation and enhancement of the culture in the way that they're expected to play from Woodward Avenue down to the Dominican Republic, right? This is who the Tigers are now. And so I think the good start doing those things is a really good sign. But I do think that 24 was awesome. It happened. We were there. I called games in the playoffs, but that's over. And this is how we play going forward. And so I think that it's great to see through 9 games that the Tigers are where they are because they're doing these things and they're continuing that on.
I think a fun way to say it is I think they've maintained the identity that they've created.
Yes.
And the exciting part to me is that there's some pretty solid, relatively important pieces that are not playing yet. So the bat of Gleyber Torres, the all around impact of Parker Meadows, the all around impact of Matt Vierling. Haven't seen any of them yet. Might not see them, for a few more weeks at least. We're going to get to that later.
Yep.
But the formula of how you hope they would play, they've been able to do. And as you said, grind out every at bat. Relief pitching's been really good. Starting pitching, solid, if not good, and not really as good as it will be, I think,
right,
as time goes on. But in playing over some mistakes, that's the other thing. I think that's an important aspect of any good team is you expect to win and you play over your mistakes, or you limit when you do make mistakes, maybe they don't kill you. They killed them in the Dodger series. They were able to play over them since then. And I think that's a really, really good sign.
Well, the Dodgers they weren't the last team to have goggles on last year for nothing. When you give them an extra out, when you miss with a location of a pitch, when you don't execute something you're supposed to execute, they cut your throat like right then. It's amazing. And that's what the good teams do. Right. And so, I think you take notice, you learn from that. Even Seattle took advantage of some of the mistakes we made in winning their one game. So you're not going to be perfect. You're going to have things that you don't execute during the game. Like that's because there's humans playing the game, but you're right. The ability to limit what happens after mistake or improve your process to where that mistake doesn't happen is key to this team moving forward.
All right, let's jump into three important names for the week. And, obviously three straws that stir the drink. Got to talk about the man of the week. It's like the redemption tour. Okay. Spencer Torkelson.
Yeah.
Also great weeks from Riley Greene and a pretty damn good week from Kerry Carpenter. 3 long balls here on the homestand. So talk about the main 3 guys that drive the bus for this team.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to start with Torque and I'm going to tell you right now, Torque's changes, while we talked about him last week on the pod, while not huge, they're the reason he's having this success. Like we have already seen pitches that his swing decisions are much better. We're seeing pitches he fired on last year that he's, not firing on this year. We're seeing pitches that he's actually hitting like foul balls. Like there's sometimes a foul ball that's a good result in that particular pitch. If you got 2 strikes, you get some spin down and away, you get a good fastball down and away. Like last year, he runs out of bat because of the way he was spinning out of, the front hip was very quick and the way he was just run out of bat, literally swinging through pitches on the outer third and outer edge because he couldn't get to him because of how his posture was too upright. He's in a better position now. And there's sometimes he can foul those pitches off. That's good. And another example, he did it yesterday. He fouled a tough pitch off 2-2. It was a breaking ball down and away. And then he ended up walking in that at bat. He's out. That at bat's over last year. So his improvement offensively because of the posture changes he's made is fantastic. Even the ball he hit the double on to win the game today, he hits that ball either off his foot or foul into the net down the third baseline a year ago. But he's able to get the barrel to it, keep it fair, and the Tigers win the game. Also, too, not to be discounted, he's turned himself into a good first baseman. And he picked 2 balls yesterday and 1 today, scooped it out of the dirt. Both 2 of the 3 picks were the in-between hop and not the easy short hop. So he's very good at that ball in the dirt. Kerry Carpenter's just dangerous. He's dangerous walking the streets, man. I mean, this guy, you throw one in the zone to him, it might end up in his seats at any time, regardless of pitch type. He gets the home run off the left-handed reliever yesterday and hit it a ton. And just his ability to cover different velocities and shapes of pitches. Perez today was a good matchup left-handed for him because he doesn't have the big sweeping breaking ball. That's kind of the kryptonite left on left. And it's a kryptonite for a lot of left-handed hitters versus left-handed pitchers. He didn't really have that. But what Perez was able to do is really did a nice job of painting and changing speeds. So that was still a tough matchup, but I think it was a better matchup for Kerry than just a guy who's got a big sweep and breaking ball or even a good curveball. And then Riley. And then Riley just continues to do what Riley continues to do. And that's fantastic. Even today, comes off the bench, a couple big at bats late that led to, that were key in the win. So, they keep, those guys are hitting the middle of the order and they are
doing things at important times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, Riley hit 2 balls this week it was like committing murder. It was, I mean, he hit one. Oh my goodness, did he just absolutely torch one? I don't know if I've seen a ball since, I forget who hit a ball. I think Josh Hamilton hit a ball up there in the home run derby or something that went into the Pepsi pour. It was like just absolutely torched. And, as far as torque goes, I mean, the ball he hit today, that's a pitch he doesn't even remotely get the barrel on last year. Not even close. And, it's the difference between attacking and being attacked. That's almost exactly how I look at the difference between the two seasons. They were attacking him last year, ended up being very defensive in almost every at bat. He's on the offense this year. He took a pitch out of the zone. Second pitch, he knew he was probably getting something to hit, and he just absolutely jumped it, and it was ball game. So great things to see. Kerry Carpenter, it's like, I don't even think his swing is quite locked in yet. He's hitting some balls out that I haven't really seen him hit before, but those long bombs to right and right center, not quite seeing too many of those yet, but he's hitting the ball down the lines, stayed back on a slider, yesterday, hit that ball out. That's a beautiful thing to see. And just big dogs being big dogs. That's how winning teams win, man.
That's it. You're absolutely right. It's great to see it.
All right. Question 2, the big 2. Let's discuss Jackson Jobe. We discussed him a little last week. What do you think he's learning from these 2 starts? And as messy as it seems sometimes, he's still getting 4 and 5 innings, getting 12. Now you got 15 outs today.
Yeah.
What's concerning to you? How important are these first few starts? And let's dig into them a little bit.
Yeah, concerning nothing. I'm not concerned. The ball's coming out hot. There's good shape on his breaking pitches. The one thing that he did a really good job today of landing his first pitch for strikes and then getting the leverage. The only issue obviously is putting guys away. And I felt like in the minor leagues, I know that was kind of an issue with him in the minor leagues too. And I think in the minor leagues, it was a different issue. I think it was more, he's trying to just be so dominant and just punch everybody out. He could see that he would get to 2 strikes quickly and then mess around. And next thing you know, you're in a 3-2 count. There's a coin flip after that. In the big leagues, I think he's probably trying to be a little bit too fine. He's trying to be, he knows he's giving up some hard contact in the middle of the plate, but at the same time, when he gets to leverage regardless of pitch type, he's trying to make a nasty pitch on the back door, make a nasty pitch, on an edge somewhere where just get it to a third. With his stuff, get it to a third, make sure the ball's down so it stays in the ballpark and induce some weak contact. And what happens is you start doing that and you'll get your swing and misses because his stuff is dynamic. So he knows this. He feels it. You can tell. They had a shot. Our FanDuel cameras had a shot of him and Chris Feder talking about it in the dugout after his outing today. And, obviously we can't hear what's being said, but you see he's frustrated. He knows that there's more. He's got more in the tank as far as some of his execution. And while he didn't pitch poorly, he just felt like he could have pitched a little bit better. But the good thing is he's continuing to keep his team in these games, even when he feels like he didn't pitch the way he wanted to pitch. And that's a good thing.
I feel like he's learning things, and, it's a process sometimes. Look, when you're at AA and AAA, you can get guys out because A, they're a little more nervous about expanding the zone. A, B, he's still obviously struggling with fastball command. And it's more than that to me. It's getting to too many 3-ball counts. A, B, he's still learning what fastballs are effective for him. I think he only threw 3 fastballs today that were really, really good. And all 3 of them were the exact same pitch. 2 of them he threw back to back, which looked like sinkers, arm side, bottom rail, inside corner, tail, right on the edge of the plate. They were either just on, just off. I've seen him do that a lot in the minor leagues, executed it today. That's a pitch that's going to play at any level, and he needs to learn how to execute that pitch more. And otherwise, I think I was talking with Stavenhagen a little bit, and I said to him, I don't even know if I'd throw a 4-seamer for a strike if I was Jackson Jobe. Any 4-seamers I threw, I'm not, they just seem like every strike he throws is either too much in the hitting zone, too much in the nitro zone, they're hitting it, or it's not competitive. Now, the slider, the change, slider, cutter, I'm not sure what he would say that pitch is, but, obviously the cutter that he's throwing, that's his most effective pitch by a lot right now. And you can get it over and locate it almost anytime he wants. And they started, he and English started pounding that, and it kept him in the game. The fastball's what seems to get him in trouble a lot. So he only had a 17% whiff rate today. It was up over 25 last time, and that's been his biggest problem. And, it'll be interesting to see how from game to game to game, he understands what he does well and can execute under duress. I think that's the work in progress part that he's learning about himself at the major league level. And that's what I was excited and the reason why I was happy they brought him. This is stuff he can't learn in the minor leagues. It's only major league hitters that are going to make him learn this. And even if he would have failed, he would have been able to go back to Toledo and say, I got to learn how to execute this better. But I got a feeling as time goes on, there may not be a trip back to Toledo, and he just may continue to slowly get better and better and better. And I think we got to tip our hat. He got 15 outs today and kept them in the game. So
absolutely
pretty excited at just the in-game growth. And heck, how many 22-year-olds have a cutter and a change that are as developed and polished as that?
Yeah, it's definitely plus stuff, and the four-seamer is good. It's got some life on it. Again, you got to throw it over. That his two-seamer today was explosive. I mean, it was boring down and in the right-handed hitters, but listen, the upside with him is very high. There's no reason for panic. There's things certainly you want to see moving forward, but there's no reason for panic. There's no reason for concern. These are things you said it best. You cannot learn these at AAA. That's not going to serve him at this point. And, it's funny. It's like you get a left-handed position player up there that, we're going to send him down to help him learn how to hit left-handed pitching. Well, all the good ones are up here. So, I mean, that sounds good in theory, but all the good left-handed pitching that you want this guy to hit, they're already here. So, that's the interesting thing about that. But no, I agree with you for the most part.
Yeah. It's the other part is you can't get ahead 0-2-1-2 and take every count to 3-2. And he did that a lot today. He's got to learn how to be more efficient. He's going to learn how to throw pitches that they may put in play, but they're just not going to put in play effectively. And, that's a process. That's a process that you both take from in-game today, but you're going to look at video tomorrow. You're going to sit down with Fett. You're going to start understanding how these at-bats went. And you just can't also throw non-competitive pitches, 0-2-1-2, that guys are going to read out of the hand. They're not going to do you're just wasting bullets there. So I think that'll get better as time goes on. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in 60. All right, we're back. Don't look now, but if you were worried about the Tigers lineup at short, third, and maybe a little bit in center field, and center field's been a little bit of a concern, but pretty good first 9 games for the Baez, Sweeney, Ibanez, McKinstry group from last year. Javi has not exactly been consistent, but he has chipped in 2 3-hit games, played 3 positions. He's played short, third, and center field.
Yeah, center field.
In the same game. Had a big hit today in the 9th, to say the least. And before we ship him off to, collect checks every 2 weeks for the next 3 years, maybe we should honor the fact that he's done all this without complaint. And he's actually hitting .333 so far this year, even though he's only had hits in 2 games. Trey Sweeney, like a metronome, as consistent as the day is long. And how about Zach McKinstry playing all these positions and as annoying as the day is long at the plate? Don't look now, but he is chipping in quite a few base hits and can run the bases pretty well. So explain how important just what they do is and how important it is to AJ Hinch.
Well, I want to start with Javi, because let's be honest, Javi has caught a lot of bullets, man. And you can say rightfully so if you want, because of what the paycheck says. And I get it, right? The one thing I will say, I'm not on the inner circle of that team by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm around them quite a bit. Those guys like him. Javi works. Javi doesn't complain. And even though, the production does not match the salary, we know that.
It's all over. That's never happening.
Right. And so if you just put that in your back pocket, look at him as a member of this team, he gives you something that's usable. He gives you a solid shortstop. He gives you flexibility at third base. And then, AJ had enough confidence to run him in center field today. That tells you something. And AJ's always, his line is always, you will see who I trust and what I trust by what I do. And he put him in center field today. So on some level, he sees him as a piece that can contribute to that position player chaos that we're running out there now.
Right.
So get the salary out of everybody. Get the salary out of your mind. It is what it is. Okay. But he's productive. And he had, to me, the thing that I like, he's had a couple hits to the other way, which we did not see last year. He had got a base hit down the right field line, and he had a great at bat in the ninth inning to help kickstart that rally today got a change up down in the zone. Took it. It was a borderline pitch. It was a strike. And then the guy tried to throw another one, double up on it, and hung it, and he wrapped it into center field. So, hey, he's contributing right now. Everything's good on that front for me.
I wanted to ask you something about Javi, because I heard Dirks talk about it a little bit today, and we talked about it a little before, which is really good against left-hand pitching so far. Looks a lot more confident, and you almost feel good with him up there against lefties. B, they're throwing him a lot more fastballs. Me personally, I think you're doing him a favor throwing him more fastballs. But hey, the swings, especially against lefties, much, much better. So kudos to the guy. I had very little expectation based upon how he's been swinging, and he's helping the team win games. And that's all you can ask of the guy, right? I mean, that's really where it's at.
That's it. That's it. He's a member of this team that's helping him, is being productive and helping him win. So, like I said, tip of the cap to him so far.
I also wanted to ask you a little bit about a guy like Zach McKinstry. He never knows where he knows he's going to be in the lineup a lot, but he never knows where, yet somehow finds a way to contribute no matter where he has to play. I mean, he was much better at second than people noticed today. He ranged really far to his left twice, and getting outs on balls that other people from time to time who will play second base for the Detroit Tigers this year are going to struggle to make those plays that he made today. And those outs are always important, So plus he's really, and he's a streaky kind of hitter, but he's contributing at the plate. So, talk about how difficult that is. I know you used to play quite a few positions and played a little second base yourself. So, talk about how difficult it is as a pro to be able to do that well all the time.
It's extremely difficult. And people, this is a part of it that people don't really understand. It's the throws. Honestly, it's the different arm angles that are required from the different positions, especially when you're when you're in the outfield for a while, then you're back on the infield, or you're back at second base. That's a little short throw. Sometimes it's dip and whip. If you go back over to the left side of the diamond, that's a different dynamic over there. So making sure that in your pregame work, whether there's during batting practice or before, especially if you're at home, that you're getting enough work at all the different spots. It's a lot. Not to mention, he's swinging the bat right now too. And he's putting up some solid at-bats. And that was the one thing from spring training that stuck out to me is I had 9 games down there in Lakeland. I think he played 6 of the 9. And he consistently put at-bat after at-bat after at-bat together. I'm like, man, this looks good. And he's rolled that right into the season. And it's been great to see because he adds an element. He can hit a double. You mess around and leave one in the middle. He can jump ship on you every now and then too. And then when he gets on the base, he's a dangerous base stealer, but he's also one of the best base runners on this team too. So his contributions have been immeasurable. And I know AJ has guys that he prioritizes over him at certain positions, but we've seen him play shortstop. We've seen him play at center field for a few innings here and there. So
right field.
Yeah. And right field and left. There's trust all over the diamond for him with AJ. So he's a very valuable, and he's a left-handed bat. So that's always, it's a plus to have a guy like him on your team.
Yeah. I always get a kick out of monitoring social media, which I like to mess around on during the game is, people are cutting Zach McKinstry all the time. And I can say this with a lot of clarity. You guys can all cut him. AJ Hinch will not be cutting Zach McKinstry anytime soon. Does way too many things and does way too many things that the puppet master likes way too much. So I don't think that's happening. Look, Andy Ibanez having some good swings, but I got to tell you though, at the same time, I think he's 2 for 16 to start the year. Finished the season 17 for 91. It's something I'm paying attention to. I mean, if he was swinging poorly or chasing a lot, I would be more concerned. He just isn't quite squaring things like he was before. He seems on time, just not squaring the ball up. But I'm sure they're paying attention to that too, because look, when Matt Vierling comes back, the question becomes where he's going to play. So I think, I'm not saying they're going to cut Andy Ibanez. They got other people that are going to get cut before Andy does, but it is something to start watching now. And even though the at-bats are pretty high quality, the results have been less than high quality. So I'm at least on the radar about that. All right. Got an interesting week getting ready to come up here. Okay. You're going to play the New York Yankees, who have already hit, I think, 114 home runs on the season. They've been using the torpedo bat, which we're going to also kind of talk about, because Bobby Scales Jr. has had every kind of custom bat in his hand that they have ever made. And we're going to talk a little bit about
not all of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you've had professional bats made for you, so you understand about changing handles, barrels, all kinds of things. And you played in the era in college baseball when I forget what bat they were using then, but they were hotter than the bats they're using now.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about we got the Yankees coming up. Interesting series. You got Casey Mize, who against Carlos Rodon to start off. Tell me what you're looking for in this week coming up. You're facing the Yankees, a lot of homers they've hit early. They're playing in a little bit bigger park and a little colder weather, but what's your thoughts?
No, Casey was outstanding his last time out, his first start of the year out in Seattle. So I'm really looking forward to this. And you could see during his outing, he knew he had good stuff early, and you could see the confidence grow. And it was 5 2/3. He wanted that sixth out, or that third out of the sixth inning, didn't get it. But Casey Mize has been through a lot in the Tiger uniform. I think last offseason, he worked on a number of things, enhancing that slider, getting that split a little bit more effective. He's throwing it harder. But for me, it all begins and ends with his ability to pitch off the fastball and pitch inside to right-handed hitters. You got to go in there. And he did that. He went in there much better than I'd ever seen him do it his last outing. And he's going to have to go inside and pitch inside and command that inside part of the plate so that his slider plays up, and then he can use the split whenever he gets ready to against this Yankee lineup. I think he's going to have a great outing. I think he's going to keep the Tigers in it. That's his job. That's all he can do, really. I really do think that he's primed and ready for a good outing tomorrow against the Yankees.
I would argue that once he navigated the first inning, the next 4 innings may have been the most dominant and best executed by pitch quality that he's ever thrown in a Tiger uniform. He was that dominating.
Yeah, he was good.
That good. I mean, you wondered if he was able to take spring training into the regular season, and holy smokes, not only did he take it into the regular season, he improved upon it, because it was once in a lifetime stuff. So I'm pretty excited for what we see this outing from Casey. He's going to obviously see a much more difficult lineup. What I'm also excited to see is, game 2, you're going to see Scoobs against Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah.
The ancient one. I mean, listen, Carlos Carrasco's had a hell of a career. I'm not sure how the heck he's in the rotation for the Yankees right now, but he's had some pretty good success against the Tigers in his career. So to think it's going to be an easy afternoon for them is probably wrong, but I'm anxious to see how Scooble throws. He has not been as sharp as he was last year, although I don't know if you would agree with me or not about this, Bobby, but I thought the last 2 innings he threw in Seattle were pretty damn good. He looked a lot more like himself. He was able to dominate much more on the inner part of the plate with his fastball. He seemed to finally find the rhythm to get that angle, sets up the change off the plate away. But if those are the 2 worst Tarek Skubal starts of the year, I would say he's still going to have a pretty great year. But we haven't really seen the Tarek Skubal of 2024 yet, and anxious to see if he can do that against the Yankees.
Yeah, look, I think there's 2 things you have to look at with him. The first one, I'll take the more macro picture first. Are we really expect him to go out and win another Triple Crown in the American League? That was just the level of dominance that he had last year was borderline ridiculous. And we haven't seen that in quite some time with any pitcher, American League or National League. So he was fantastic. If you said, would you take really, really, really good for this year? Absolutely. I'm not going to say that he's never going to have a season like that again. But man, he was so good last year. It was borderline ridiculous every time out. And so I think the expectations, I think he set the bar so high for himself that it's almost a tough situation. The second piece is you're absolutely right about his assessment. The key to what Skubal was able to do. First of all, he faces no lefties, virtually no lefties. And when he does, it's the Bryce Harpers, it's the aircraft carriers, it's the Juan Soto types, right? Okay. So take them out of the equation. He faces no lefties. His ability to throw that fastball glove side whenever he wanted to. I don't think there was any start last year where he didn't have that ability to throw that fastball glove side.
100%.
If you throw it glove side, which is inside the right-handed hitters, and then you can do that. You can throw it away. And then, like you said, it absolutely sets up the changeup. If you can command both sides of the plate with your fastball, you can throw it to your arm side. You can throw it middle down if you want. It doesn't matter. And he was so good at that last year. And we haven't seen that level of execution last year. No reason to believe we don't know that he can't get back to that. But that for me is the root cause of why you haven't seen vintage Tarik Skubal is the fastball command, especially to his glove side.
Yeah, I'll make a funny comparison. You and I had a long talk last week about Spencer Torkelson and being on time and how fine the line is about being on time. And I think we see that now. At the same time, Tarik Skubal falls into a similar circumstance. And I say this being the father of a pitcher. He just hasn't synced up to be totally on time with his delivery. I finally saw it for the first time this year, the last 2 innings of his last start. When he's on time, the level of precision is amazing. And the stuff is there. The precision with the stuff was not there. What I finally saw the last, 25 pitches, especially with his fastball, was being the equivalent to Spencer Torkelson, being on time, executing that pitch glove side inside where it just totally confounds a hitter at 97 miles plus. Is it a strike? Is it a ball? Where am I? What's going? And he has not been able to execute that till the end of his last start. And that's what I'm excited to see, if he's able to get into that mode quickly against the Yankees, because I don't really care who he's throwing against. If he's able to execute that, nobody's hitting him. So pretty similar to the idea of being on time as a hitter.
I agree. I mean, they talk, pitchers talk about it too, being on time with getting everything synced up and having good energy down the hill. And when one thing is off, whether it's a leg lift into your back leg, into your leg, on the rubber or whatever, the arm swing, whatever that looks like, if you're just not synced up, then you're going to either your velocity is going to roll back or your location, your command is going to be off, or both at some point. So the velocity's been good. The ball's been coming out hot, but we haven't seen quite the command that we're used to seeing out of school.
So on Wednesday, pretty interesting matchup. You got Max Fried versus Jack Flaherty. Flaherty was actually quite good, and it was very interesting for me to see the post-game interview with him, because I think if you've watched a lot of Jack Flaherty and you understand the difference between good Jack Flaherty and okay Jack Flaherty, he was extremely honest about what went on in his last start, which is he was throwing the baseball 91 to 93 miles an hour, an awful lot, which is about 1.5 miles, almost 2 miles an hour, slower than he threw it at his best last year. And in fact, in the 6th inning, he had some fastballs that were under 91 miles an hour. Yet his slider was so good that it did not matter for that outing. And I'm kind of curious, both of us are pretty familiar with cold weather baseball. How much impact do you think the weather is having on some of Flaherty's velocity? It hasn't really been prime all 2025, but is it because he's not synced up, or is it because it's just cold and it's tough to get loose and fire hard?
So I'm not going to say it's not going to have any effect on there. But at the same time, he's in his 8th or 9th year in the major leagues. He came up with St. Louis. He's pitched in the major leagues in cold weather, and he pitched, even last year, like in the playoffs last year. Those games in Yankee Stadium were exactly balmy. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it's the cold's affecting him. Do I think it can be a factor? Yes. I think it's early in the season. I think possibly. And, if you ask him, he's never going to tell you. But like when you pitch that deep into October, you're in November now, I guess, your off season is compacted. And so that affects your rest cycle, which affects your ramp up cycle, which affects your lifting schedule. So, you see this at times with guys who, pitch deep into the postseason, that it may take them a little time because they're still not quite where they need to be physically. And so he doesn't seem to be reporting any injury. I don't think there's any cause for alarm there, but I think it's just one of those things where this guy had a really short offseason after winning the World Series last year. So I think that's part of it too. And, could the cold be a thing? Sure. I mean, he is a California guy. Even though you're used to playing in the cold and you're used to functioning, it doesn't mean you have to like it. So it could be any number of things. I'm not worried about it because, like you said, the one thing that he did have, tremendous feel for a slider. And the thing about Flaherty is his fastball command is important, but he's not a fastball pitcher. He's best when his ratios are kind of, 30, 30, and 30 between that fastball, that's the slider, and the curveball. When he's doing that, he's in a good spot, which usually turns into good outings for him.
What's funny is that I watched him throw 93 to 94 against the Dodgers, and he was getting plenty of swings and misses on his fastball. So It's not like the fastball doesn't play. He was getting more swings and misses than Jobe's getting at 97. So he for sure knows what he's doing. I just found it interesting to see his velocity to be that diminished, yet still pitched really, really damn well. All right. We can't stop talking about the Yankees before we do ask about Aaron Judge. And I just want somebody that's been around baseball and professional baseball players their entire life. Pretty generational player. I mean, he may even getting to the point where he's superseding the great Mike Trout as the player of the era. I mean, it's just doing some crazy, crazy stuff. I know the ballpark helps him, but does it really help him? So give me a minute just on how great Aaron Judge is and what we're really seeing here.
I don't care what anybody says. If you've been in or around the circus that is New York and that media and that market and the pressure that comes with wearing the pinstripes, that's why for me, like, I know we're not talking about this guy right now, but to see what Jeter did over the course of his 20-year career, I'm sorry. You could say, well, he wasn't the greatest shortstop, this, that, and he was. I don't care, because what he did in that market for that team with all the weight that it carries when Steinbrenner, George Steinbrenner was still alive and the pressure he put on people. And you fast forward to Aaron Judge, his performance and his ability to perform in that market, doing the things he's doing, playing a lot of center field last year too, right? He's been very selfless. He's played hurt. He's played with a jacked up toe. He's played center field when he didn't have any business. Could he play center field? Sure. Should there have been somebody else out there? Yes. But he played there a lot. So, in the weight that being captain of the Yankees brings to it and the attention, there's no doubt he's a generational player. No doubt in my mind. And the way he's transformed himself, he's a good hitter that happens to be big enough to miss balls and they go out of the ballpark. So it's amazing. I'm out of superlatives to give to him and respect his game so much, because he plays hard. He used to steal a lot of badges, not so much anymore, but he plays baseball. He's just an oversized baseball player that's really good at what he does. And he's doing it in arguably the hardest media market to do it in the world.
Yeah, he is something. And, he seems like a good guy, and he seems like he's having a good time playing. Yeah. So that's a beautiful thing. All right. After they finish the Yankee series, they have to go to a place that's never fun for them. They have to go to Minnesota to play the Twins, who are not off to a great start. Hearing some grumbling over there.
Yeah.
But always, a place that's difficult to get victories. Tell me, the Twins are pretty good. You got a lot of hitting there. Got a lot of guys healthy this year. Correa's healthy. Wallner is very, very dangerous. They have a super good bullpen. What are we looking for from the Twins? And the schedule is not going to get any easier soon. So
no, it's not. I mean, and you said it, it's been a tough place for the Tigers to play over the last few years. And you're right. The bullpen is tough. You have to get out ahead of them, because if they get out ahead of you and they're able to get to their leverage guys in the back end, it gets, exponentially more difficult to win games there. So, the one thing, and I don't like saying this, because I work for the Tigers. I'm a fan of the Tigers, but I'm also a fan of baseball. It is not good when your best players aren't playing. It's not good for the sport. It's not good for the game. I hate Byron Buxton being out still, or getting hurt again. I hate Royce Lewis getting hurt again. But at the same time, this is a business. And if there's ever a time to go up there when you don't have two of those three, you got to take advantage. So you got to have solid at bats early, put some numbers on the board, preferably some cricket numbers on the board against their starting pitching. Get leverage in the game. And then, obviously still the strength of this team is still the bullpen. And if you can turn it over to those guys, I like the chances to go win that series.
Yeah. You're probably going to see Olsen, Jobe, and Mize in Minnesota. Should be an interesting series. Pretty tough from the left side. And, the circus goes on. There's more Days of Roar coming up right after this break. All right. I wanted to save the last question. I want to try to talk at least a little bit about what it's like to try to rehab from an injury. I mean, Vierling and Meadows both have different forms of arm injuries. Matt Vierling has a shoulder injury. Did you ever have a shoulder injury, Bobby, or no?
No, nothing that was going to keep me out as long as he's been out. No, you a couple of days down here and there, had some inflammation one time, but it was like 10 days, but it wasn't anything like this.
I think if you do any throwing in any sport, you have inflammation permanently. Okay?
Pretty much, yes.
Right? But when it comes to Vierling is not really thrown now in, gotta be like 7 weeks. I know he's hitting. I know he's doing almost everything, including lifting weights, but I know they're going to take an MRI this week, but I'm going to be fascinated to see. You got to have a throwing program. It's not like hitting where you hit for 4 or 5 days, you go down, you play for 3 days, you decide if you're on time or not, and all of a sudden in a week you're ready to go. Throwing's a little bit different. You got to go through a throwing protocol, a program. You got to stretch out. Depends on where they want them to play. Neither place is great. Center field, the throws are pretty long. Third base, for sure they are. I got to think it's going to take, 14 days of throwing before he's really ready to play. I don't think you want to bring Matt Vierling back just to DH. So everybody that thinks he's coming back tomorrow, it's not going to be so quick if they think that's what's going on, right?
No, there's going to have to be a logical progression. And especially, and it again, depends on how you want to construct this roster, right? Especially if you're going to continue to lead Justin Henry Miller off in the DH spot, well, there's your DH spot, right? So, it's one of those deals where part of Matt Vierling's package is what he brings defensively and the versatility. You can literally run him all over the diamond. He can stand at shortstop for 4 or 5 innings if you needed him to. So, if you're going to be a defender, you got to be able to throw the baseball. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be a ramp up. He hasn't thrown in quite some time. I don't know where he is in the progression, if he's even started throwing it all or not. I can't remember quite where that lands right now. But the bottom line is there's going to have to be a pretty healthy throwing progression. And again, as a guy who did that job, you have to be prepared to throw from the outfield and throw across the diamond. And those are two distinctly different throws. So yeah, it's not going to be I won't say it's going to be a lengthy one, but you're definitely going to have to take your time with it.
Even if they give him the clearance, within the next 5 to 7 days, I hear he's got an MRI. They're going to, start making decisions about that within the next week. It's going to take, he's 3 weeks away at least from playing. So, I mean, he's going to have to start at the bottom rung of the minors. It's going to be, he's going to play 5 games down in the minor leagues at least once he's even able to do that. So last question of the week, torpedo bats. Talk to me about the idea.
So, it's interesting. I've talked to a bunch of teammates guys I played with, and some guys are like, it's funny because we're in our mid 40s now. So everybody's starting to sound like a curmudgeon. Oh, we didn't have that. We didn't need that. I'm like, yeah, dude, we did. It just didn't catch on. There was a company called Dovetail Bats back in the day that were making them. I'm pretty sure I have one in my storage unit back home. And I didn't like it because it wasn't my barrel. Like my barrel, I used a really thin barrel. It's called the M253. It's a model from Louisville. And it was like, it's the smallest legal barrel that they make in a baseball bat. And I didn't like it because I needed, when I had the bat in my hand, I wanted to be able to know and have ultimate control of my barrel. When I felt like when I used bigger barrels that, I would lose the barrel and I'd dump the barrel, I'd get sweepy and uphill and it was just bad, right? So the only reason I didn't use it back in the day was because the barrel was literally too big. I didn't like it. I just was dumping the barrel all the time. So the torpedo bat theory of, okay, if a guy hits the ball closer to the label, let's move the center of mass of the bat to the label and taper it off at the end. That makes sense. Like, and I don't want to poo-poo on this guy's science who did all this, figuring out of where to put it and this, that, and the other, because there was real work and research done. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much been done before. And it just didn't catch on. I mean, almost, 16, 17 years ago. I think this was like 2008 or 9-ish for me in this Dovetail company. I could be off on the dates, when you get our age, it runs together. But the bottom line is we've seen this before. It's just hot right now. Some ideas that we've had in history, not just in baseball, people weren't ready for at the time. Well, clearly everybody's ready now. And now you got bat companies all over the planet, firing out bats as fast as they can make them. So sure, I'm sure that Monday morning will come around and there's going to be some UPS trucks at Comerica with some with some bats that are torpedo shaped, I promise you there will be some swaps from the other side, from the Yankees, with the caveat of, dude, you can't use this against me in this series. Guys do that all the time too.
At the same time, Bobby, all I'll say to you is that, remember axe handle bats a few years ago?
Yep.
Okay. Where are they now? Not too many guys using them, if any, right?
I think Mookie's still using his, though.
Yeah. But, baseball bats, if you swung the bat, I don't care if you played softball, hardball, when you were 12 years old, when you were 24 years old, you swung the bat in a game, you know that you have to find a bat. It's like having a golf club in your hand.
Yeah.
There's millions of different kinds of golf clubs. It's all in what you feel comfortable swinging, because the next facet of the equipment you're using is telling your brain you feel confident executing your swing with whatever you have in your hand.
Yep.
So do I think this is a fad? Yeah, probably, for 100% the reason you just explained. It's not as new of a piece of technology for hitting as you think it is. And it's all about, swing execution and what you feel good about what you're swinging in your hand. So I'll be excited to hear it talked about for these next 3 days, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people asking about it, and it'll be interesting to hear what their answers are. All right, I really appreciate Bobby Scales standing in for Evan. Like I said, days of work chaos. And that if one of the two of us is not here, Bobby Scales is going to be here.
Hey, I'll be you guys' understudy.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Well, I can already tell you in July, I'm going to Europe. So you'll be doing the pod with Ev then when I'm gone. So
there you go.
All right. I want to remind everybody, please rate, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, especially YouTube. And you can always find us embedded in every single Evan Petzold article at freep.com, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'd like to thank the editor of the Free Press, Nicole Avery Nichols. I'd like to give a shout out to my boy, Ryan Ford, this week, associate editor, the magic man who has swept up after Bobby and I today, Robin Chan. Love to my grandsons. Love to Savannah Petzold, the new mommy, and to Daxton Petzold, little Daxton Petzold. Until next week, thank you, Bobby. Peace.